welcome to the Science Faction Podcast, where science meets fact meets fiction.
This is Science Faction for the week of April 28th, 2026. I'm one of your hosts, Benjamin Daniel Lawless, and with me today, hanging out in Texas and shaking his head at the world is...
Devon Kraft.
What's up, Devon?
Reporting from Texas.
Yeah. yeah. How are things over there as you're, from Texas?
From Texas?
Yeah.
I mean, life is fine. Everything's fine. The weather's been warming up, and the family's doing well. It's hard to separate how you feel about things from politics. It's like, you don't pay attention to the news, you can be much happier. I think you've made that point recently. But I've seen people post about that. It's probably a good idea. But yeah, when it comes to Texas, we've got a pretty conservative government. And we just had our, we have elections all the time. We just had our mayoral election, actually still going on. Jen and I voted early yesterday. But it's like, it's like 4 Republicans and 1 Democrat running. We voted for the Democrat, but I also thought, like, wouldn't that split the vote to where the Democrat might actually win? But I think technically the mayoral election is nonpartisan, and so it's not so much that people identify the candidates with a party. Although if you look into it, of course they do. Yeah. But anyway, that's life here. We had
I do. That is an interesting question. Like, how much does your party affiliation matter at the mayoral level, right? Like,
well, I think it probably more and more. I think it used to be that it probably didn't matter as much, but now that we identify all politics, I mean, all politics has always been identified with party. It's been a 2-party system the entire history of our country, but I think more and more lately, we would, if you see a Democrat, depending on who you affiliate with, if you see someone from your party, you instantly think of it as a national issue and would say, well, I'm going to vote for the person who identifies with my party, which that's part of the point of having political parties, is so you know some idea of what that person stands for just based on party affiliation.
Even it's kind of a shorthand.
True, but yeah.
But still.
But we had my now 6-year-old's birthday party this weekend. That was a lot of fun. Cool. We bought like an inflatable kind of bouncy house that has like water features on it, so the kids really like that. And that was pretty much the main event of our weekend. How's everything going with you?
I mean, you had it at the house, and so you had to deal with like all the cleanup and setup too, I imagine, right?
Yeah, or did you? We did it all in the backyard. We had cupcakes and pizza. I mean, the setup and cleanup, but didn't feel like it was too much.
Oh, that's good.
So yeah, I think it was worth doing it at our house.
Right on. Yeah, we so big news around our household this week is we are now fostering a family of kittens, and we've got 5 kittens, all around 4 weeks old, and mama cat with them, and it's it has been a harrowing story, because we found out kind of Thursday, Friday last week that this mama cat had taken up residence in my mother-in-law's shed, and she didn't want them there, and looked up some of the costs with their local animal shelter, and they were a little bit higher than they were for us in our town, just about an hour away. And so began Operation, get mama and baby cats, out. And so like a lot of uncertainties, a lot of unknowns about, okay, is the cat feral, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Turns out the best of all possible worlds could have happened. And mama cat's super sweet and
Mhm.
the 5 baby kittens are now here in our house, healthy, and our local humane society is working to place them. And given that there are 5 of them, and one of them was female, 4 of them are male, the this all happened, by the way, like what I'm going to describe to you happened without my intent. I was not part of this. It happened while I was at my Buddhist Sangha meeting on Sunday morning, but the cats arrived while I was there. They were determined to be, uh, you know, everybody was happy and healthy, or not, still needed some help, but uh, and we decided to foster it while I was away at the Sangha, and they were named without my input, which may be surprising when you hear the names. We have Kirk, Picard, Sisko, Janeway, and Archer.
Mhm.
Um, and the mama cat is named Majel. So big shout out to my sister-in-law April for helping name them. And yeah, it was it's been a lot, but also has been kind of nice because, coming from, saying goodbye to our cat Claude last year, and that constant thinking of like, well, do we want another cat in the house? Do we want a long-term commitment like that? And right now, there's no long-term commitment. We just have cats in the house, and we get to take care of Mama Cat, and she takes care of the kittens, which is kind of best of all possible worlds. But right now, they have taken over our downstairs bathroom, and I was a couple of minutes late um, to this little recording because I had to feed and look after the kittens a little bit, pick them up, smush their paws a little bit, and yeah, good times.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Um,
Is
yeah.
your family open? I'm not saying I'm not gonna hoist over a bunch of cats to you guys, but are y'all open to like pet ownership? I don't know of y'all having pets.
Well, the only pets we have are fish, which
Okay.
I don't probably doesn't really count.
Oh, they count. You're keeping them
Not
alive, and
really. All you
yeah.
do is feed them. You don't play with them or think about them. But no, so our kids aren't really interested in getting a dog. I've joked about it with them, and they're like, "No, no, I don't want a dog." Um, they just, I don't know. It's weird. Yeah, they don't want a dog. I don't really want a cat. Um, I do kind of want a dog, but I also don't want the hassle of having to deal with the dog. So none of us are really interested in adding a pet to the family right now. So it's probably not going to happen anytime soon. So, no.
Yeah. Well, all right. Cool. Yeah. And I mean, who knows? These sorts of things could turn on a dime. My
Hmm.
my last 4 days of my life as a
Yeah.
good example of it, but not saying that. Yeah. So you'd be more interested in a dog than a cat?
I personally would be, although I guess a cat would be nice because they're a little bit less maintenance. They're a little bit,
Mm.
you know, they seem to require less attention. Um,
Yeah.
I like dogs a lot better. Just personally, I would, play with a dog and have more fun with the dog. But I guess I can't. I don't want any of that hassle of dealing with that pet.
Yeah.
With already having 2 kids, I don't need anything else to make things more complicated.
Yeah, I understand that. I had actually, like, when our house was a lot more full, um, I kind of turned to my wife and I was like, we cannot handle any more, creatures in this house. This house is full right now. and
Mhm.
and so now of course we've got the 2 rats which have not been introduced to the cats yet. I don't think I'm not sure how that's going to go, or even if we're going to do that. Though our rats are bigger and weigh a little bit more than the kittens do at this point. So maybe
Mhm.
now would be a great time.
Yeah.
The rats will be their little kaiju attacking them. But yeah, man. Gosh, you have you been watching anything cool lately? Like, have you been keeping up with
We're
For All Mankind?
yeah. We have been, although we still have a few minutes, I think, left of the most recent episode.
Mm.
Um, just because we didn't finish it when we were watching it and haven't had a chance to. But I mean, mostly we're watching The Pit. We're still finishing the second season. But yeah, we're
Yeah.
mostly caught up on For All Mankind. How about you? Are you all caught up on it?
Yeah, we're all caught up. It's been, I mean, it's interesting, right? Because like it feels just because of the setting is a little bit more bleak. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
feel like it's as sci-fi sometimes as previous seasons have been. Now that you're kind of dealing with,
Yeah,
you
which
know,
is kind of funny
yeah,
because I mean, there's an established base on Mars, and it's so well established, like it doesn't feel like they're even in space. It's just like, yeah, this is just
yeah,
a place people live. Like, there's no difficulty. There's no like engineering challenges we have to deal with on a daily basis. This is just life.
right,
Like some people live on Mars.
yeah,
So that's
yeah,
very
and
sci-fi, but you're right. The issues are
yeah.
more like sociological
People and
issues.
yeah, like all the I mean, I'm really interested in kind of social political stuff. The stuff honestly that we haven't seen in the show are the things that I really kind of want to scratch at a little bit, such as the so in For All Mankind this season, season 5, they're on Mars and they've been on Mars since the beginning of last season. They and Happy Valley is the Mars colony. They're doing great, except there's rising unrest tied to a a leak of information that came out that the a couple of the major corporations are looking to automate all of the like all the jobs
Yeah.
on at Happy Valley and potentially send everybody back home except for the rich and powerful. And so,
Mm-hmm.
a bunch of Marsies are trying to go through and, like express their, do their form of protest, whether peaceful and nonviolent or not. And it's a bit chaotic. But on top of that, this all got started because the first man on Mars, who was from North Korea and had defected away from North Korea in the last season, he had been accused and framed for murder, and
Mm-hmm.
he ended up uh, defecting to another colony on Mars that we
Mm-hmm.
haven't seen from. So there's the M6, which is the bunch of nations that include America and Russia and a few others that have banded together to, that are on Happy Valley. But there's another group of countries from America or from Earth that have settled. And that's the part that we don't have really any insight into.
Yeah, we
That
don't
includes
really know what
Brazil,
countries those are. Or okay, yeah,
Brazil,
Brazil.
India. Gosh, let's see here. I think North Korea. There's 6 countries, and you can kind of get more of that information from the alternative history headline news shorts
Mm-hmm.
that they have at the beginning of every season. And so this season it connected 2004 to 2012 in this alternate universe. And yeah, anyhow,
Okay.
I'm I'm enjoying it. It's a great show,
Yeah.
and coming up soon we're going to have its first spin-off series, Star City,
Mm-hmm.
which takes place in Russia during the events of the first season, where since they win the race to the moon, what is it like behind the curtain there? And that'll be fascinating too.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of leaks,
Yeah.
Devin, are you a Avatar: The Last Airbender fan?
No, I've
Okay.
never seen the movie or any of the episodes of the TV show. So no.
Yeah, I mean I recommend don't watch The Last Airbender, the The M. Night
movie, M. Night
Shyamalan
Shyamalan movie.
film. Yeah,
Okay.
it was the first thing that I had seen in the Avatar universe, I'm sorry, the Last Airbender universe, and it made me not want to watch anything. And then my son got into the show Avatar: The Last Airbender and encouraged me to watch. I'm like, this is incredible. So that being said, it's been over a decade, maybe even almost 2 decades since the Last Airbender aired, and there was a spin-off series called The Legend of Korra, which was really good. But it's been largely dormant, despite the fact that an organization had been like a studio called Avatar Studios had been established in order to continue making animated things in the Avatar: The Last Airbender universe.
Mhm.
Now, why is this important right now? Well, they were planning on having a major movie that picked up a lot of threads from the shows that was intended to come out in October and originally was going to have a theatrical release. And then Paramount decided, no, we'll just move it to a streaming release. Well, the entire film has leaked
Oh,
on the internet
weird.
in its final form.
Mm-hmm.
And this comes at a really kind of unfortunate time. The like number one, Paramount moving like already didn't seem to be having a lot of faith in what they were planning on doing. Like this film was meant to be the first in several films and a new series that they were going to kind of come back with, that they've been working in secret on for 6 years or so.
Yeah.
And for it to be leaked now is really unfortunate, because it, like, all of the momentum that they were going to have from marketing and from, doing whatever, means that, like, well, that's kind of evaporated,
Yeah.
That's really unfortunate, especially all the people who are behind the scenes that have been working on this for the last 3 years, this film. And we're expecting to see it in the theaters and then in streaming, and now, well, who knows what's going to happen. The leaker also is facing some pretty serious legal consequences. It looks like they are facing they've been caught, and they're
Mm-hmm.
facing the potential of 7 years in prison and
Wow.
$50,000 damages to pay,
Mm-hmm.
either or both. Not quite sure, but that's kind of what Paramount is looking to
Did they
extract from
say
that person.
like who is it? Someone who worked on it, or
No, this is a
how did they?
hacker that hacked into
Oh, they
some
hacked into it.
some
Okay.
like system. It's looking like not necessarily hacking Paramount themselves, but maybe any one of the studios that worked on the film.
Involved. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Now, mind you, despite all of this, because I am so hungry for Avatar: The Last Airbender, I have watched The Legend of Aang: The Last
Yeah.
Airbender with my family, and it is
Mm-hmm.
incredible. It is so
Mm-hmm.
good. Uh, and and it is like, if it does have a theatrical release, I will be first in line to see it on the big screen, because it
Mm-hmm.
is like what it does for the universe itself. It definitely both pushes forth the personal story of a lot of characters that we didn't really get proper closure on um, from the Last Airbender television show, all the
Yeah.
way to like deepening the lore that of the entire universe. And it does so with some incredible voice acting. Um, Unfortunately, some of the voice actors from the show are not returning to voice the characters. However, the idea there from the casting director had kind of commented on it and publicly, and said that they were planning, like, their casting better fits the kind of the races that they're meaning to portray. And given that
Mm-hmm.
they're not a Nickelodeon show anymore,
Mm-hmm.
that they yeah. Um, it was really great.
Does
I wished it.
Nickelodeon still exist? Or no, that was
Yeah,
when it does.
I mean, it still has a Nickelodeon logo at the front of it.
Oh,
Nickelodeon was still behind the production of Star Trek Prodigy. And yeah, do they still exist? I don't know in what
I would guess
form,
so.
but yeah,
Yeah.
but they're still out there. And yeah, anyhow, I'm just saying that like when anyone gets the chance to watch it, if you're a Last Airbender fan, uh, then it's got Dave Bautista as one of the main new characters that they introduce. The idea, okay, so like the the idea behind it is right at the beginning of the Last Airbender, like the show. What prompts everything is that Aang was a member of the airbending nation, and he had been born was to be the next avatar, which is someone who has control over earth, wind, fire, and air, all of the four different um, elements,
Elements.
and
Yeah.
yeah, and can like cast spells, for lack of a better term, to modify those things. And he ended up like the his air temple gets attacked by the Fire Nation, and he runs and hides away in a state of suspended animation for 100 years, and then is awoken. And when he comes to at the beginning of the show, he finds that every single other airbender has been killed by the Fire Nation, and he is the last of his entire culture. And the Fire Nation has been gathering in power, creating an entire empire, and he leads a resistance movement against the Fire Nation. That's the story of The Last Airbender, or Avatar: The Last Airbender. So in this film, The Legend of Aang: The Last Airbender, he finds um, through he's grown up now, and as are many of the other characters, and he has been spending his entire life looking, finding different parts of his culture through uh, like gathering items from all the different temples he goes and visits. Well, he finds out that there is another airbender that has been that is in suspended animation, that's been in suspended animation for 5,000 years, and ends up waking him up. And this airbender informs him that there is a way to grant airbending powers to anyone, and so they go in search of that, and that's kind of the beginning of it all.
Mm-hmm.
And it's beautifully animated, really well paced for a film. I kind of wished it was an entire season of television, but it is what it is, and I get what I get, and I'm not going to make a fuss. But it was really, really high quality. And yeah, if that sounds interesting to anyone, you can choose to watch the animated series, which is incredible. You could also watch the live action remake that Netflix has. I guess the second season will be coming out pretty soon. You know how I feel about live action remakes of animated shows. But that one's not a terrible version of it. I actually did watch all of the first season. Uh, and yeah, and I'm kind of like, oh yeah, the second season's kind of where the story really starts. So anyhow, there you go. That's my review of The Legend of Aang: The Last Airbender. Um, so I know
Okay.
the one thing that we haven't brought up yet
Uh-huh.
is, where is Steven?
Oh yeah.
Devon.
I thought he
Where
was
is
just being really
Steven,
quiet.
Devon?
He took his dad to a medical appointment.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if I was going to said
And
that, but
and so
I don't know any
he
details of it.
he's
But
right. Yeah, he was hoping to join us. He said he would be on the call by the time we started, and then he said if uh if our time had to start and he wasn't there, he'd join whenever he can. So he might hop in at any moment. We could have a surprise Steven. But instead of that, let's do a surprise future or now.
okay.
Devin, why don't you start us
Okay.
off?
Yeah, sure. So I am doing a story about politics and science. It is about the
Surprise,
Trump
surprise.
administration's, yeah, the Trump administration's firing of all the members of the National Science Board. Um, and
Tremendously short-sighted and terrible ideas.
Yeah. So they sent, I think they sent an email, it was on Friday, from the president to all the members of the board saying their positions were terminated effective immediately. Um, and so what is the National Science Board? It was created in 1950 to advise the president and Congress on science and engineering policies, approve major funding awards, and guide the National Science Foundation's future. They say it's typically 25 members. They serve staggered 6-year terms. I believe the 6-year terms are to make sure that to try to take the politics out of it. If the administration changes every 4 years or 8 years, hopefully they won't have much authority over every member of the board. So I believe it's supposed to be non-political, but of course nowadays everything's political. And
Well, I
the
guess
members
I
of
mean,
Yeah,
who made it political?
yeah,
Yeah, there you go.
like everything. It's so
Mm.
crazy. So it says that the scientists hail from academia and industry and specialize in areas including astronomy, math, chemistry, and aerospace engineering. So every member of the current 22-person board was let go. Um, and so like quotes that I think this is one more indication of the sweeping changes that the administration has in mind for the National Science Foundation, says Gill, who works at the Information Science Institute of the University of South California. Democrat on the Senate Committee on Commerce, Maria Cantwell, said this is a dangerous attack on the institutions and expertise that drive America's innovation and discovery. It's noted that the Trump administration tried to cut the Science Foundation's budget, which is a $9 billion budget. They tried to cut it in half. However, Congress still funded the entire foundation last time. And let's see, we're going off of two articles, one from the Independent and one from the Guardian. So the one from the Independent notes that the, the what is it? Sorry, I gotta find it. They call it a chairman, the head of the board, is actually already somebody who is not part of science. Last April, NSF director, the
This is
prior
Jim
director,
O'Neill.
both the prior director, whose name I can't pronounce, resigned from the board. As personnel from the Trump administration slash and burn Doge cost-cutting program were working inside NSF to cancel scores of grants. So Doge was interfering with a lot of what the NSF was doing. So the old director resigned, and then the new director is someone who appears to be, in March, the administration nominated Jim O'Neill, a former deputy secretary of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and biotech investor, to lead the science agency. This new person, O'Neill, has not gone before Congress in any kind of hearing, and he's also would be the first NSF chief who lacked a formal science or engineering background. So they talk about the number of grants that have been frozen by the administration. It says in its first year, the Trump administration terminated or froze more than 7,800 research grants, while roughly 25,000 scientists and staffers at research-related agencies left the government. So really, this is just part of the continuing attack on science by this administration, which, I mean, it's clear how terrible it is. It's kind of, I don't know. Most politicians and legislators are lawyers. It's kind of the pathway to become a politician is usually you have to have some experience in law. You don't have to, but it's usually, you learn how the government works and how to make laws by being familiar with laws. But wouldn't it be so much better if all of our leaders were more educated in science. I mean,
Okay.
science teaches you procedure, accurate procedure on how to come up with reasonable, logical conclusions and evaluate evidence. And then, of course, how to direct actual scientific research. So policy wise, it could be science based, and then moving forward, knowing like the importance of science and how that can be utilized to make people's lives better. So science is very, very important. If utilized correctly, I obviously it can do great things. If utilized incorrectly, it can be very harmful, especially if you
I
ignore
mean,
science that could be helpful.
yeah, I think it's important to note like some of the stuff that they've talked about in these articles that many of these prior prior boards on the NSF have had a hand in the creation of major technologies like GPS and the
Hmm.
internet. Like imagine a world where we did not have like where that was entirely made privately, and like maybe your access to GPS would be based on a subscription, or your access to the internet at large was based on a particular subscription to one organization.
Hmm.
That, you know, that could have happened uh, early on, and it is not. So it's kind of yeah, this is bad news bears all around.
Yeah, and so it says they're being fired. I mean, it doesn't say anything about like dissolving the board. I assume they're all going to be fired, and then they're just going to appoint a bunch of, Trump lackeys, as
Yeah.
they do with everything. So, that's going to happen. Hopefully, a new administration can come and fix everything that's been done. The problem with something like scientific research is you can't fix what's lost in the meantime. If
Yeah.
they're funding research and that would have led to, some kind of breakthrough or just incremental development in something, in anything, but like medical technology, that's either not going to happen at all, or if it does eventually happen, because we can hopefully, correct the wrongs that have been done, it's going to happen much later. And how many people are going to be affected or die in the meantime because that wasn't available when it otherwise would have been. And
Yep.
of course, things like climate change and all kinds of other environmental sciences and just everything. It's it's just I can't believe I don't understand what people think they're gonna get out of any of this. Just blind support for a clearly illogical and horrible administration. It just seems so much more baffling this time than it did last time. Because last time it was like, okay, maybe they want to try something new, and the only way he got elected was through the a really dumb quirk in our system because he didn't get the most votes in 2016. But the second time, man, you knew what you were getting. I,
Yeah.
I mean, like, I mean, my opinion has been so much more solidified this term, of this Trump
Yeah.
term, because it's just there is no excuse. People now, like even like fuck, sorry, Tucker Carlson, who's like, oh, I now feel bad about supporting Trump. First of all, I don't think you're genuine at all. I think you're full of it. But
Right.
also, if that is a genuine opinion, then that's on you because nothing was being hidden from you. All the information was out in the open of who this person was and what they would do. So,
Listen,
um,
I don't I know I've tried my best to keep this opinion like to myself as much, but I can't. Okay, so I can't believe that we reelected someone who was directly or indirectly responsible for over 1 million deaths of US citizens due to his mismanagement of the COVID crisis. Like that is absolutely mind-boggling to me that we're in this situation given, and we're not talking about like, you know, soldiers, or we're talking about like citizens that, man, like I just it's so wild. Like
yeah.
how that was never brought up whatsoever during the you know, uh during the fight for the White
Campaign.
House. Yeah, and the campaign and
Yeah.
the trail. Like
Well,
it
you know why it
is wild to
wasn't
me.
because it's very complicated the way people perceive that, and
Yeah.
so it's
But
hard to do that. And yeah, it's so
right. But
complicated. But you're
like,
right. You're absolutely right. But
yeah.
it just that wouldn't as much as it should have been a great argument. It unfortunately wouldn't have been effective.
Eh, yeah.
I mean, it would have for the people who already agree with
Right.
that, but it wouldn't have gotten anybody to come over to your side because it's already so polarized. People, all the same
Yeah.
crap with COVID. I mean, I think there's absolutely that and plenty more stuff. But I think January 6th, I can't believe that's not instantly disqualifying.
Right.
I mean, when that happened, I was like, phew, okay, so there's no longer a threat of Trump. Like, he's not coming back from this. There's no more political influence he can wield.
Right.
And
Yeah, it seemed pretty cut and dry at that point,
yeah,
didn't
I
it?
thought that was it. I thought it was over. I thought we were
Nobody's ever
done.
going to listen to this guy ever again. And
But no, now he's back and worse. Definitely worse.
Yeah. So, well, my friend, we are I mean, it can only well, I'd like to say it can only get better, but
it can
it could get worse.
Nothing bad it can only good happen. That's a quote from Trump. They use it on the Daily Show and I think other things because I think he was talking about Iran when the war first started and he was like, it can't bad happen. It can only good happen.
Incredible. So I'd like to welcome to the show, our special guest, Stephen. Hi, Stephen.
Hello.
Oh, hey, there you are.
Welcome. We're right now about to, I guess, Devon, anything else you want to add about the NSF firing?
Nothing that you wouldn't have to bleep. So
right on. Well, let's get you some good news, everybody. So speaking of, I know that I brought this up last week. The kind of importance, like if you're feeling overwhelmed about bad news lately, that bad news is intended to overwhelm you and is intended to make you feel terrible. But there is a YouTube channel that I've been watching, which does have a lot of links to, or discusses a lot of positive progress that is being made worldwide. Most of it is not is not in America, United States of America. But one thing that came up from this video from Sam Bentley, hat tip to him, is the invention of mosscrete. Mosscrete is a bioreceptive concrete that enables moss to grow directly on building facades. So it's essentially just allowing moss to thrive using only rainwater and humidity. And it allows for a bunch of different really great stuff to happen. Like it can cool the building facades, it can capture fine particulate matter, and enhance urban biodiversity. So it's low maintenance, it's scalable, it encourages a reduced environmental footprint, and it's like a really neat approach. It's being developed by a company in the Netherlands called Respire. And I'm like, I think it looks incredible. And yeah, I mean, more of this, please.
What is it? What does it do? It's plants growing on buildings.
So it's a special type of, it's a method for adding to concrete by like essentially supporting natural moss colonization without any soil or irrigation systems. So it like they create this this moss concrete or mosscrete that has multiple different layers, but all the layers kind of combine to make like a mossy vertical wall.
Okay. This sounds like it's a surface thing, right? Not something that's integrated into the concrete. Is that correct?
Right. It's a surface, it's surface level. Yeah. And
okay.
it, yeah. which is nice.
Do you guys remember Bill Nye the Science Guy?
I do. He's still out there.
Hi Bill. There was one. Remember that from the show? Hey Bill. There was this one episode I remember where they did not really an experiment, almost like a demonstration, where they took some kind of moss, put it in a blender with milk, and then like poured it over stuff, and then showed and then the moss used the milk as a like food or a binding agent or something, and then the moss grew on the rocks or on the bricks or whatever it was. This sounds like it's the same thing, right? But like on a large scale, like a full
like
building scale.
Up. Yeah, scaled up. And I mean, it's fascinating too, because I mean, moss has some properties to be able to handle carbon emissions and grow beautiful. From that. It's I mean, and so who knows if it will make its way over here if the environmental conditions in America match those in the Netherlands, which I don't think they do. But it's really fascinating to me. And
I wonder if there's any downsides. Like, can the moss roots like dig into the concrete and then make it weaker in some way? Or perhaps it's different depending on the species of moss or something.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the only things I could find about it are on their marketing page, which that would not give you the information you're looking for,
right?
Because they're trying to market like, hey, request a quote for these kinds of walls. But yeah, I'm curious about that too. More on this, I suppose, as it develops.
Awesome.
All right. Well, my friends, shall we take a little break? And then when we come back,
I just got here. What are you talking about?
Yeah. It's
well,
like,
what's your science or what's your, what the hell do we call this? What's your science or fiction?
Nope, that's not correct.
we don't need to stay on brand all the time, you guys. Give them a break, Stephen.
No, it's fine. Let's move on. It seems like you guys have been recording for a while, so
he's been here the whole time, Stephen. Where have you been?
I've been listening to you guys this whole time.
Oh,
no,
really?
I haven't.
Sure. Okay. You could have been, I guess. There was nothing that prevented you. But that being said,
we'll talk about that during the break.
Yeah. So next up, we're going to be jumping into book club. This week, it's Learning to Be Me by Greg Egan from thetafiction.com. And boy, that was an interesting one. And can't wait to talk with you guys about it. We will be right back.
You ever notice how everyone in sci-fi movies has a secret society they belong to? The Jedi, the Bene Gesserit, the Illuminati, or whatever? Well, guess what? So do we. It's called our Patreon, and if you join at patreon.com/sciencefactionpodcast, you'll get access to exclusive content, our Discord, and knowledge that normal listeners will never understand. Join us, or remain in the dark. Your call.
And we're back.
Hi.
Hey,
y'all. And a big thank you to our patrons, Renee and Josh. You guys got to hear a little bit of an update on family health stuff. Really good news, we promise. But
they got the dirt. They got the real dirt behind what's going on in my life and why I was late today.
the mask came off of Stephen. He was no longer in podcast mode. He was in he was in real mode. But all that being said, next week we do have another story for book club from Lightspeed Magazine. This is we're going to be reading Saint Zero of the Hollows and the Eagle Knight by V.M. Ayala. Wondering what it's about? Us too. We haven't read it. Not yet, but we'll get there. It's it should be about, I think, 3,000 words. So should be a good one. I hope, or not. We'll figure it out.
I like this trend of reading off the first sentence just to give you a taste of what's in store. The only sound Zero heard in their helmet was their own hyperventilating, and the gentle pings from their Pegasus.
Okay.
I don't know what that means, but I'm excited to find out.
Yeah, for sure. All right, cool. But this, today it is Learning to Be Me by Greg Egan from thetafiction.com. Now, I guess one thing that's kind of struck me is the design of this site and kind of trying to figure out like, well, what is even this site? It seems like it's about short stories, theta fiction, and it looks really nice. Number one, um, like I read it on my phone, and the mobile design was really great. And yeah, I don't know that
I
just
mean, at the top of the screen, it says Thetafiction is an ad-free passion project, but it still has its running costs. If you like what we do here, consider supporting us at Buy Me a Coffee. So it's somebody who
yeah.
just loves sci-fi and is running a site, having hosting short stories. Amazing.
A platform to collate and read short stories. I guess the project emerged from a shared frustration of reading short stories in PDFs and hunting for them among the vast graveyard of broken websites. So,
Be a good
yeah, I guess
resource
it,
for future stories.
yeah, and it seems to be using Invalarium, which I think is, I
Is that
don't
the
know what
city
that
with
means.
1,000 planets?
Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
got him.
Thank you.
I got him.
That was good job. Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know, but we'll see. We'll figure it out. But that's just the site hosting this one story, Learning to Be Me, which is from 1995, it looks like, and it
Yeah.
is a 28-minute read. And it was first published in 1995 by Greg Egan, a Australian writer.
What do you guys think of when you hear Egan? Because something very specific
Mm-hmm.
popped in my head.
Severance, man.
Yeah,
Oh,
immediately. Which kind of, I mean, and then you think about what this story is, and it's like, huh, okay. Is there some kind of connection here? So this story, Learning to Be Me, and of course it starts with, I was 6 years old and my parents told me there was a small dark jewel inside my skull learning to be me. This is what I love about this story. I'm just going to sit right on Front Street here. I'm not going to bury the lead. I loved this story, and I really loved the way that it was presented from the point of view of the main character and how they felt about this piece of technology through different phases in their life. Up until the little twisty bit towards the end. And even like the sci-fi bit was very straightforward and understandable the way it was written about, which please go read this story because it was good. But the sci-fi bit is that apparently when you're born, they put a thing in your brain that then kind of interacts with your entire brain and syncs with it and makes a copy of you as you're growing and learning to the point where it is synced and thinks. It's got like a little it's a little robotic, I don't know what, something, but it's copying your entire brain so that eventually one day you can have your brain scooped out and have the robot take over, and it will be exactly you still because it spent its whole life learning to be you.
Yeah, and you live forever.
And then apparently you live forever.
Right. Yeah, and it's it's meant to be this sort of idea that it's duplicating everything that you think and feel so much that like it should be indistinguishable from you.
And there's something inside it called a teacher that, which I in my own head was like, oh, it's like an onboard AI that like, if it starts to drift away from you, it'll course correct it and adjust this jewel until it is, back on track to being exactly you.
Yeah. Sorry, Devon, I think I cut you off. What's anything you
I don't
wanted to add?
remember what part I was gonna, but And it addresses all the philosophical issues that come with something like this, of whether the copy of you inside the jewel is you or is it not you. Do you die when it finally takes over and your brain is literally taken out of your body? So it's not, you get to a point when you're usually in your 30s, because that's when your brain starts just to deteriorate. And so that's when it takes over, but it is a choice. You have to say that's when you want that to finally happen. But when it happens, they activate the jewel, and then a week later they scoop out your brain. So it's literally just the jewel. I mean, they add in synthetic material, but
yeah. I think it's important to note here, just personally from this. Is there any okay, so around 30, your brain starts to deteriorate, and two of the members of this podcast started a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's only gone downhill since then.
Yeah.
All right, cool, excellent. I'm glad we're all on the same page here.
100%. Yeah. No, the best this podcast will ever be was the first episode. It's only gotten worse.
We're just deteriorating. Yeah, but now I think that kind of philosophically, the big question is, if there was any difference in terms of our perception of something, would we even know? That's the central question as it's going through all of this.
Would we know for ourselves, or would other people know about us?
I mean, which one is important?
I would say yourself, if you would.
Yeah.
So, all right, we got to get into the meat of this, which is where you're heading. But before we get there, the story goes through when he's 12, when he's 14, when he's, I think, 16 and falls in love. And then it jumps ahead to, let's see, 19. I'm just kind of scrolling through. 23, he gets married. So we get to live 28. We get to live through this person's life. And in all of these sections, he talks about what his, thoughts and feelings and philosophy are about this jewel and what it means. His whole life revolves around this thing, it seems. His relationships, what the choices he makes in his life, until the point where he's like, what do I even do? Doesn't even matter. If everyone's doing it and everyone seems fine, well, who cares?
All society is doing that, right? So there's a peer pressure part of this. And there's, without his direct approval at birth, he had the foundations laid for him to be able to make a decision about whether or not his brain is replaced by a machine that mimics what the brain does, right? And that, I think, is kind of important, that at a certain sense, a decision was already made for him. And now he just needs to decide when he comes of age whether he's going to follow through with that initial decision or not.
Right.
And what that means, being part of a society where it is normalized that living forever is what you're going to do, right? What happens if you choose to not live forever and not have your brain replaced and slowly deteriorate, and your partner does not? Is that something the foundation for irreconcilable differences that is it weird? Is it even socially accepted to deny everlasting life?
But is it even life? Is it even everlasting life? So one of the big conversations within this story is and this is the transporter question from Star Trek. Do you die and then something else is created in your place? So if you choose to switch over to this device, are you essentially volunteering for death and then having this device take your life over for you? When you beam from the ship to the planet, are you being destroyed completely and then recreated exactly on the planet? Did you just die? Is this a new thing with all of your old memories? And the way this story is written, it really seems to be leaning that direction. Where like, yeah, you get switched over, your brain is then deleted, and now the robot takes over your body. It acts exactly like you, but it's not you, is it? What do you guys think?
Well, that's like we've had this conversation multiple times because of the transporter problem or discussions about uploading consciousness into a computer. It always comes down to the same questions of, first of all, as always, like what even are we copying? What is consciousness? Is there something immaterial that couldn't be copied? And if not, if consciousness just arises from material based on the configuration of the substrate and the process he's following the laws of physics, theoretically that could be replicated in a artificial environment. And if it's done so to the degree that it's indistinguishable, again, what are you copying? What is the thing that needs to be exactly the same from the organic brain to the
Digital,
the artificial brain
artificial.
to make sure it's the same? Is there anything that actually qualifies for that? Is there like an actual identifiable property? Like, okay, if this one thing is copied exactly, then yes, it's the same thing. But how do you not then label that thing a soul?
Right. I was about to say,
You
oh, the
know,
soul cell? Yeah, you got to be sure to
yeah.
copy the soul cell over, otherwise you go straight to hell.
Which I would say, which in my opinion, probably doesn't exist. And
No.
so then, yes, hypothetically, if you could recreate every aspect of what it is to have my consciousness running or existing, just either in another organic brain, like if the transporter problem, or in a artificial brain, like either software or this thing, some kind of jewel, then I would feel like, yes, that is then essentially me. But it's like, but yes, whatever I was existing in my organic brain definitely died because all the things that existed to make that exist are now gone. So yes, so to me, the best I can that I've come to thinking about this is, it's both, and then also comparing it to my own biological existence of my body is being replaced. I think they say it like takes 7 years for everything in your body to be fully replaced. Obviously, it's a gradual process, where part of the old me exists while the new me is growing. But after a certain period, everything is new. So I've gone through this process of the me from 7 years ago. Nothing about me is the same except for the 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 way the configuration of everything is the same enough to have my consciousness still exist.
The
Right.
ship of Theseus.
Yeah,
right?
I
You
know. I
start
was like, how long
replacing
is it going to
parts
take
and-
for someone to? I was going to say
Yeah.
that ship of Theseus. So you could say you've actually already experienced this. Are you the same person you were 7 years ago, or 10 years ago, or 20 years ago? You would say, well, no, I feel differently. I have different perspectives on things. But also, yes, I feel like there's a continuity between who I was then and who I am now. And I don't feel like the old me died, but maybe they did. So I feel like most questions like this, it comes down to there isn't an answer, or maybe we're defining it incorrectly. Like we're asking a question to have a thought. Like it's never going to be answered definitively unless there's some revolution in the way we understand consciousness. But
Right.
there's never going to be a time where we can say like, oh, this is the thing. Yes, when you are transferred into this artificial thing, you are still you. Case closed, scientifically proven, no questions, no philosophical discussion. Which is kind of the way the philosophers in this story have decided to go, because he takes the philosophy class and the teacher's like, whenever you ask these questions, it's redlined and we put irrelevant. It's like, I'm pretty sure philosophers would still have a lot of questions about this. But we just decided to accept it.
Mind you, the irrelevant was placed in like Times New Roman at a particular font size, which makes me think that the philosophy professors or graders were like were machine as well of some kind.
Yeah, I was about to say this story does have this kind of shadow looming over it about who's actually controlling this stuff. Who made the decision that every newborn gets the jewel placed in their head, or however the story doesn't specifically explain that bit, but like there's a lot of unsaid things in this story that feel a little dark to me.
Oh yeah.
Well,
I
they don't even talk about like, okay, now this copy of you at 30 is now going to live forever. How do we deal with that?
Well, does it develop? Does it do what your brain does, and does it like change over time, or like you said, is it always just the you at 30 being you at 30 forever?
Well,
and then does that take away an aspect of being alive? Because I'm not in a position where I'm going to stay the same forever.
I think that like those questions are incredible, but also the fact that this story is not from the perspective of the meat. It's from the perspective of the jewel.
It's a
Mhm.
twist.
Yeah, the big twist is that the
Yeah.
entire story, at one point, the narrator of the story realizes that they're essentially in a like sleep paralysis like state while they're watching their body go through the like everything that they would do, the fact that they wouldn't be making these decisions themselves, but there is something in control, and they realize that like they and their sense of self is the jewel, and that they're watching the human conduct business the way that they would. And then when that blew my mind, man.
So I want to read that
Yeah.
bit. I was shopping for food one Sunday morning, 2 months before the operation was scheduled to take place. He agreed eventually to do the thing. Flicking through the images of an online grocery catalog when a mouth-watering shot of the latest variety of apple caught my fancy. I decided to order half a dozen. I didn't, though. Instead, I hit the key which displayed the next item. My mistake, I knew, was easily remedied. A single keystroke could take me back to the apples. The screen showed pears, oranges, grapefruit. I tried to look down to see what my clumsy fingers were up to, but my eyes remained fixed on the screen. So the jewel becomes desynced with the organic brain, and the teacher to sync them back up doesn't happen, doesn't work. And that's
while
horrifying.
my body went, like I could only think of one explanation. I had switched spontaneously. The jewel had taken over while my brain was still alive. All my wildest paranoid fears have come true. While my body went ahead with an ordinary Sunday morning, I was lost in a claustrophobic delirium of helplessness.
Yeah.
But then it was only when I laid down on a beach and closed my eyes I began to think rationally about my situation. The switch couldn't happen spontaneously. The idea was absurd. Clearly, there had been a malfunction, but my first guess had been wrong, absolutely wrong. And turns out I ought to have managed at the very least a good solid bout of hysterical laughter when I realized that I was the jewel. The teacher had malfunctioned. It was no longer keeping me aligned with the organic brain. I hadn't suddenly become powerless. I had always been powerless.
Yeah, he mentions that this has happened before. He's like, the teacher comes and resyncs me to the brain and deletes the period where I've become aware that I'm the jewel. And that's what he's waiting for to happen this time, and why he's worried that he's going to try to fake it out to be like, well, I'm just going to respond the same way, to act like I'm synced with the brain, even though he realizes that's impossible. But he mentions, I believe, that he's like, this has happened, like this must have happened like a bunch of times before, and that's the whole point of the teacher, is to correct these errors. And so how many times has him as the jewel had this experience, but then it was just deleted? And then we, reading the narration, aren't going to see that because we're getting a narrative where that part has already been deleted.
I didn't even think about it. This whole story has an unreliable narrator to it until that point.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And then, so then that's like, okay, what else aren't, they telling us about this technology? Like at this point, who knows how it works? Who decided, all this stuff? Like the illusion of choice is given to people, but
well,
I don't know.
At the same point, right? Like everything is perception. Like
Mhm.
I mean, when
this
it comes
is
to
not
you in
science.
your
This is
body,
not
yeah,
science fiction, right? This is actually like it could be a thought experiment that we run on ourselves right now,
Yeah,
where like
actually what I
y-
do.
yeah, we don't have this technology necessarily, but like Devon was talking about, and Stephen, you were talking about like the shift of Theseus, we're already here. Like it's
yeah, we're doing that.
yeah, like at what point do we say, I mean, and it seems like is it at the point of every night we go to sleep and we die and we wake up in the morning and we're a completely new creature that just happens to have all of the memories of what has happened in the previous days? Like that is as
Don't start
equally
that. Don't start that.
Well,
About we'll be able
that's
to
the
sleep.
road. No, but that's exactly the road you go down with. I think it's a lot of the same stuff that always comes up with this discussion. I mean, I was thinking of split brain patients, how people have experienced their bodies doing things that they're not telling their body to do,
Mhm.
because they're experiencing consciousness through one half of their brain while the other half is controlling certain aspects of their body. Um, And then I was also thinking about how kind of what you were just saying, Ben, how we are already kind of in this position, and in another way that our brains are kind of controlling our body, and it's our consciousness is almost always doing a post hoc rationalization. We think we're making the decision, but that's just our brain giving us that feeling while it's going on autopilot, on what we would consider autopilot, while doing these things anyway. And so that was one thing with the part with the gem being like, wait, I'm not telling my body what to do. It's like there was finally I don't know if you know if there's a real neurological condition where people experience that other than split brain patients, where their consciousness, or they feel like their consciousness is no longer in control of their body, but their body still acts and does everything they would have done anyway. It's just they've lost that sense of there being a connection between their conscious choice and what their body's actually doing. Almost, I guess that doesn't exist because I would have had to have heard about that. It's almost like
I mean, like
it's like
I've
the
had
loss of
I've
free
had a
will,
I've had a
literally.
bout of sleep paralysis, which this seems very similar to,
Yeah, I've had,
you
but
know.
you're not moving. You can't move, right?
Right,
But you're
right, right.
screaming
But
in your
like,
head. You're telling your body to move. It just won't happen.
yeah, you're
Yeah,
telling your eyes to open and it's not, the alarm is going off in your room and you can't you're telling your body to reach over to turn it off, but it is not.
yeah,
Um, you know.
We know what that is.
yeah. For the most part, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Okay. Okay, gotcha. I was like, what is it, Stephen?
Well, it's
But again,
the
that
little demon
shows,
that lives in your head.
yeah, it
Right.
shows your
Yeah.
brain is actually in control of things while your consciousness is not. Like you weren't able to consciously tell your body, like, look, turn on this switch to where I can access the rest of my body. It's like it eventually does it, but it's not doing it consciously, I don't think.
There's if I remember correctly, when we go to sleep, we are paralyzed to a certain
Hmm.
extent because your brain needs to, when you're dreaming, to not have you actually do those things that you're
Yeah,
dreaming about.
exactly.
Which is why dreams feel so real, is because in your mind you are running, you are punching, you are doing whatever, right? But if you, and sometimes that breaks down, that's when you get like people who sleepwalk and, you know, talking in your sleep, moving around, all that stuff. But sometimes it doesn't let go, and that's when you get the sleep paralysis, where part of your brain's like, okay, I'm ready to take over now, and your brain goes, not yet. You're still paralyzed.
Yep.
Well, and another
Anyways,
part of this whole discussion that I've been doing, and is separating your consciousness from your brain. It's just part of it's the way we talk about it. But then there's also so many aspects of acknowledging your consciousness is just your brain, and it's your entire
Right.
brain. If you change a small part of your brain, it changes kind of who you are and how you function. There's no one central point that is your consciousness. It's like it's everything.
it's like
Yeah.
if someone was like,
Or
yeah, can we just transfer the horsepower out of your engine and put it in something else? Like, no, the horsepower is the engine. The engine
Mhm.
working is makes the horsepower. It's the same thing.
I mean,
And if you
Devon, to your point, Devon, it's either everything or it's nothing as well, is another way to put it.
Hmm.
Because
Yeah.
yeah,
Because you're
what
just your brain, and
yeah,
Mhm.
your brain is hallucinating that it has consciousness and free will.
yes, yeah,
That's all we
right.
Are
And
we
it's
AI?
might as well be.
Sorry. So the story ends with the Jewel taking over, right? The narrative that we've been reading this whole time, and being terrified that it's going to be discovered that they were desynced, and it doesn't. No one, like the doctors look at them like, okay, you're good. See you later.
Mhm.
Which is like that also feels a little dark. Like, is this happening to everyone? Is and then it goes on to be like, so this is eternity. I'll need transplants every 50 or 60 years time and eventually a whole new body. But that prospect shouldn't worry me. I can't die on the operating table. Like, then it's like, okay,
yeah.
now the robot is immortal. Like, all right. It's
But like
so bizarre.
here's the thing though, right? Like uh almost immediately after like the transfer had happened, the relationship that he had had immediately before it that got him here, he ended. And
Right.
so the big question is, well, if you made such a giant change when it was something that you at that point had been so connected to, are you even the same person? Did something actually die or did it not? Is this just like our perceptions? Oh man.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
but that was a rare case and was due to the malfunction, because everyone else is like, oh yeah, when it happens, you don't notice a change, and no one around you notices a change. But clearly, in this case, there was a change, and it appeared to be due to the fact that there was that malfunction that happened, what, 2 weeks before he had the procedure. So the deviation in experience between the jewel and his organic brain in those 2 weeks was enough to make him make different choices after the
Or
procedure had occurred.
or is that something that happens to everyone and they
Mhm.
just shrug it off because they think it's
Yeah.
just normal, right? And it's that last sentence. After all, I have no way of knowing if his sense of self, his deepest inner life, his experience of being was in any way comparable to my own. Of
Mhm.
course he does because he has all of that memories, but he doesn't because he is fundamentally changed. And so what is the difference between fundamental change and being exactly the same thing in terms of our perception? Nil. It's nothing. Ah, man.
What a great
Whew,
story.
what a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeepers. Yeah. So, okay. It seems like all three of us really enjoyed this one.
Yeah, it was a good
Yeah.
story.
Yeah,
Right
for
on.
sure. Good job, Greg
Yeah.
Egan from 1995.
Yeah.
20-year-old, 30-year-old story. Still hits
Yeah.
hard.
It sure
And
does.
yeah, this feels like Severance as well,
Hmm.
right? Because they like with the splitting of the brain in two parts of one person that can't, talk to each other. And I'm curious if this story was an
Like,
inspiration for the writers of Severance.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that like Severance has the like that horror to it of, well, do we just give all the like offload all of the activities we would not want to be conscious for to another being that it shares this body? And that's horrifying too.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah. But and that kind of sets up the like the big moral quandary at the end of season 2 and possibly going into season 3 here.
Right. Yeah.
um of what does that mean? Is there a world in which the uh innies rise up, in
Mhm.
against the outies? And yeah. Huh. Well, my friends, I
Time
know
to
we're
wrap this
we're we're
sucker
at
up.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta get going.
Yeah, but Devin, any last words?
Another thing this made me think of, kind of all the conversations about consciousness, seems to always lead to panpsychism. I know I've read a lot of different like neuroscientists or people who study consciousness, a surprising number of them come to the conclusion that panpsychism might be real, which is the idea that consciousness is a fundamental aspect of the universe. Like we have energy, matter, laws of physics, and consciousness goes right along with that. I don't see evidence for it, but a lot of smart people come to that conclusion. And it kind of surprises me. But I was thinking it would be cool to write a story like this, where in the future we've proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that panpsychism is real. And then what can you do with that? Like, we know there is a fundamental, quantifiable, manipulable, part of reality that is consciousness. And how do we utilize that? What does that tell us about ourselves and all these questions we've been discussing, but also what new technologies or new life can we describe or create or understand because of this fundamental change in our understanding of reality? And I think that'd be an interesting story.
Yeah,
For sure.
yeah, indeed. Stephen, do you have any last words for us?
Yeah, I've got something for y'all. I got a question. What is a golf club's favorite type of music? Swing.
Good night, everybody.
This has been the Science Faction Podcast. Tweet to the host at SciFact Podcast. Email them at sciencefactionpodcast@gmail.com and visit sciencefactionpodcast.com for more episodes.